Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another great week here in the Mentorfish community. As always, let me introduce myself for all of our new members. My name is Keith Kochner. If you haven't met me yet, I'm the founder and creator of Mentorfish.com. This wonderful resource of tools, and by the way, the most affordable resource for leadership and professional development tools anywhere on the planet right now. And we're here to share another great week with you in our daily 15-minute mentorship moments. If you ever miss one of these, I always tell people they're all archived. I'm a huge proponent of at least investing into yourself at least 15 minutes every day. And that's exactly what we're going to do this week. And this week we're telling stories from my personal life again. So these are things that I've interacted with, things that I've experienced and extracted value from, so that I could turn around and really share the story with you so you could consider your relationship with that valuable point or principle in success or leadership. I love these daily nuggets because from the feedback we've been getting over the last several months, which has been phenomenal, these little bite-sized pieces of knowledge, these little bite-sized pieces of wisdom that we can take in on a daily basis and then really spend the rest of the day just kind of saying, you know what, how does that same concept affect me, or where would it affect me, or have I thought about that before in my life? It's been very, very valuable for our members. So we're going to continue doing them as always. And so this week's a powerful, powerful week of stories from my personal life. Today, you'll probably find very entertaining. I love talking about my very, very first car I ever had. You may think, hey, that's probably something awesome. Well, for those of you that don't know me, for those of you who do, you probably remember I came from humble beginnings, of course. And so my first car, the story of my first car is quite entertaining to say the least. So let's join me teaching right now my 1976 Toyota Corona. So this is kind of a funny story for me. It takes me back a long, long time ago to remember back to my very, very, very first car. Okay? My first car, when I was 16 years old, my uncle gave me a 1976 Toyota Corona. Now, you heard me say Corona, not Corolla. Corolla were the popular ones, okay? They still make those. This was a 1976 Toyota Corona. Now, I wasn't complaining because it was given to me. But I can tell you, my friends called it the Toyota Carotid because it had so much rust on it and so many different things. I mean, it was, now looking back, it was a piece of crap. But I want to tell you something. I took care of that piece of crap like it was a beautiful luxury vehicle. Okay, now I convinced myself. Now, if you don't know, I'm even going to suggest you Google this and tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me how far I stretch myself. If I really went back and looked today, I was probably in la la land. But I convinced myself that this car was nice. See, even then I was making up stories that served me. I said, you know what? It's free, had some rust, had some duct tape on the windows, you know, where the normal weather stripping would be. That it was dry rotted, but I had duct tape there. But you know what? Most importantly, the headlights. The headlights, it had two headlights on both sides. And the way they were circled, I convinced myself that if you glanced at this car quick enough, it looked like a BMW. Now I got it. You're going to go Google it now, aren't you? I convinced myself, man, this has the same front end as a BMW. And that's what I told myself. You know what? This is a luxury vehicle. I polished that rust. It may have been covered in rust, but I had the shiniest rust that you could find. Bottom line, I can tell you this, the trunk did not even shut. I had to tie a brick to the trunk. I had to tie a brick to the trunk so the weight of the brick would hold the trunk down. Only time it popped open is when I go over railroad tracks, which I had to every day on the way to school. When I go over this one particular railroad tracks, the trunk would go, whoop, it'd pop up, and then the weight of the brick would pull it back down. So I think you got the picture. But the picture I really want you to get is this. I took care of it as if it was a luxury vehicle. My dad taught me when I was very young, you know, I used to get to toothbrush the spokes on the hubcaps of our, I think it was an Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. You know, I had the fancy hubcaps. No, I did not say wheels. I said fancy hubcaps. And I got to toothbrush all the little spokes. But see, that was put in me at a very young age to take care of my stuff and be a good steward. So now let's fast forward. Several years ago, I would work with groups of interns. I'd go to speak at my college that I graduated from, and I would speak, and I would offer an intern program. I would, 20 or 30 would probably apply, and I'd pick 5 to 6 or 7 of them that would work with me personally, a non-paid internship, just to be able to spend time with me, learn from me, hang out with me, do different tasks that I needed to have done. And then in return, I would teach them, I would sit with them, I would train them, kind of like my mentor did with me. And I can remember this one particular time, several years ago, I had this group of mentors that was, or a group of protege that was letting me mentor them. And I said, you know what, we're gonna do the car wash, we're gonna do the cars today, and they would wash my vehicles. And so I got them all out on the street, and they were washing them, and I said, now listen, I want you to wash these things like they were your own. Take care of them, act as if they're your own, And we're going to talk about it when you get done. I'm going to come out and check your work because it's got to be quality work, right? So I think there was 5 or 6 of them this particular day, and I had one particular gentleman that's kind of like managing them all. And he got them all washed in the cars, and they came and got me a few hours later. They said, Mr. Kochner, we're all finished with all your vehicles. Can you come out and check them? So I said, sure. I came out and checked them. And at the time, I had a handful of luxury vehicles, a couple sports cars, a brand new pickup truck, and an old 1991 Mitsubishi Mighty Max, which if you don't know that model, make and model, it's basically a little bitty truck that sounds really mighty. It was one of my work trucks. And so I went out and I checked the first luxury vehicle, and I white gloved it, and it looked immaculate. I checked out the second luxury vehicle, white gloved it. It was immaculate as well. I went to the sports cars, checked those out. They were immaculate as well. Went to my brand new pickup, immaculate as well. Got to this little bitty 1991, it was white. We called it Little Roke. I got a picture of it up on the stairs. If you ever come out to our Learning Center here in Tulsa for one of our events, you'll see it on my staircase of thank you card. Somebody actually took a picture of it, and from a satellite nonetheless, put it on a card for me and said, small beginnings are the best beginnings. And so I remember that card. I still have it anyways. So they cleaned it. So I go out and check this truck, and guess what happened? The little truck under the fenders was still dirty, had some mud on it still. And so I kind of back up, and they were all standing in front of me. I said, listen, guys, I really want to acknowledge you. You did wonderful on these cars. You did absolutely wonderful on these cars, all right? But what happened here in the truck? This truck over here still has dirt on it in the same places that I found no dirt on the other vehicles. And at that moment, the one gentleman that's kind of leading all them and said, well, we understand, Mr. Kochner, but that truck's, and he started to say something, and I said he was going to say that truck's a piece of crap, but I cut him off. And I said, excuse me, why don't you go ahead and finish your statement? What is that truck? Explain to me what that truck is. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to tell me that that truck's a piece of crap and that you shouldn't hold it the same level as these luxury vehicles and these sports cars and this brand new truck. That's what you're going to say, wasn't it? And of course, at that moment, everything was completely silent. I was already to teach them something that I believe could change the rest of their lives because it changed the rest of my life. I said, listen, you guys see a piece of crap. That's why I put that truck in the lineup with all these, because I knew you would take care of these the way you should. But what I wanted to see is how would you take care of that one? Because here's the key. Here's the truth. And I told them this that day, and I want to tell you the same thing today. I could find 1,000 people to take care of these luxury vehicles the way you took care of them. But I can't find one person that will take care of this truck as if it were one of those. And here's the key. Until you can take care of this truck as if it were one of those, you will never have any of these in your life. That's what you've got to understand. Because I understood this when I was 16. When I had my very first car, it was a piece of crap. But I knew if I didn't take care of that one as if it was a luxury vehicle, I knew then I would never be a good enough steward to have the things that I wanted to have in my life. And see, until you can take care of this one as if it were one of those, you will never have any of those in your life. And so I got to teach them a very powerful lesson in stewardship. And it also reminded me of how valuable it was when I was 16 that I was able to have been taught that to my father to take care of the things. You know, if you ask my 7.5-year-old son today, you can say, Daniel, you can just walk up to him and say, Daniel, why do we take care of our stuff? And he'll say, because God will bless us with more stuff. Because see, we have to be a good steward with what we have. See, many of us may not have the car that we want in our life. Many of us may not have the house or the job or the level of finances that we want. But I can tell you this, until you can begin to take care of those things in your life as if they were at the level you'd like to be, you'll never be where you'd like to be. Does that make sense? You've got to change something first before you're going to experience a next level of life in your life, whatever that may be, whether it be income, cars, homes, boats, whatever it may be for you, or just even a marriage. Now, I'm not saying you got to learn how to take care of this spouse before you get a better spouse. Now, I'm going to suggest you got to treat your spouse like the spouse you'd like them to be, probably before they'll ever be that. And when I get into the realm, which I don't have time to today, but when I get into the realm of relationship consulting, when I talk about it in that context, I say this: speak to the king or the queen in your spouse, and that's what you'll experience from them. If you speak to the fool in them, that's who you'll experience from them. So speak to the king or queen in your husband or your wife. Speak to the leaders, the king or queen in your children, and that's what you'll experience. If you speak to the fool in them, that's what you'll continue to have. If you treat the things in your life as if they're not nice and you don't take care of them because you don't need to, because you're going to wait to start until you get something nicer, you'll never have the nicer thing. Start now with stewardship. Stewardship is so important. So I gave those young interns that day to say, we understand, Mr. Kochner, we apologize. I said, don't apologize to me. The lesson's not for me, the lesson's for you. I want you to learn it now in a simulated environment when it's just a bunch of cars and an example you can learn from. I don't want you to have to pay the price in life that so many other people pay for. Treat that one like I treated my 1976 Toyota Corona like it was a BMW. Well, the funny thing is, I went to Mercedes instead of BMW. I don't know. I'm a Mercedes guy, not a BMW. I've never owned a BMW. I went to Mercedes instead. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Maybe I had traumatized myself so much trying to convince myself this old Toyota was a BMW that I could never connect with BMWs enough. But they are nice cars. The key is be a steward of what we have now, and you'll have more tomorrow. You'll never be blessed beyond what you are prepared to handle. They went out and washed that little truck, and it was a piece of crap. But they went out and shined that piece of crap right up, man. It was a shiny, shiny truck. And then I think they got the lesson. I think you did too today. Let's read an article from my very first mentor. Here we go. Toilet paper theft causes firing. Police used marked rolls of toilet paper to catch a principal who was stealing from his high school. The markings, which could be seen only under ultraviolet light, proved the official was routinely taking school supplies home. The principal in the above story had to resign in disgrace. While succeeding in developing his academic credentials, he apparently failed to develop his personal character. Let's define character. The Webster's 11th Collegiate Dictionary defines character as the complex of mental and ethical traits marking and often individualizing a person, group, or nation. Another definition of character I like is from former Congressman J.C. Watts. Character is doing what is right when no one is looking. My personal definition for character is the core thinking and values that predetermines a person's behavior. Character is a learned behavior. Good character is best taught at home by precept and example when children are young, as illustrated by the life of my friend Jess Gibson, which, by the way, is a good friend of mine as well that I met through my original mentor. A test of character. Jess Gibson is an incredible motivational speaker and pastor from Springfield, Missouri. At one of my Increase events, he shared about a test of character he faced as he was a young teenager. At the age of 15, I had a before-school job at a local pharmacy. One morning, I was sweeping behind the counter where the cash register was located, and all of a sudden, I saw it, a beautiful, crisp $10 bill. It was just lying there on the floor, waiting for me to pick it up. The boss was in the basement. No one else was in the store. Who would know? Should I or shouldn't I take the money? I thought about what I could do with $10. Visions of candy and sugar plums danced through my head. Then it dawned on me. At that moment, my trustworthiness, my character was being tested. How I responded to this temptation would shed light on who I really was and who I would become. I picked up the money, ran to the basement, and presented it proudly to the owner. He grumbled that someone had been clumsy handling the money. He didn't even say thanks or give me something as a reward. However, I received my reward. It was that experience. It revealed to me that I was developing the positive character traits that would help guide me throughout my life and enable me to overcome bigger challenges and temptations. Each action you take when faced with moral questions or temptations will help you form your habits. These habits, in turn, will determine your character. Crisis does not develop character, it reveals it. Jess Gibson. The PowerPoint question for the day is, how would those close to you describe your character? Here's a verse for the day. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. Proverbs 22:1. Character is absolutely important. I don't think I have to even say anything else about it. You know, talent will get you to the top. Character will keep you there. That toilet paper story does remind me of a story that I'm not sure I should share with you all. It may tarnish my character, but I can tell you, one of my first jobs, I worked at a Hardee's hamburger place, kind of like McDonald's, only not as popular. I think they're Carl's Jr.'s today. And I was a crew leader there, so I had a special set of keys to get in. And we came in one evening, and we actually borrowed all the toilet paper from the restaurant, and we went and we teepeed the owner of the Hardee's restaurant that I worked at's house, and we thought it would be like a great team building morale boost for the employees and the owner that we were bonding with them, only they had a different perspective on it, as I was reprimanded with getting written up for using my keys to enter the building after hours and basically stealing toilet paper from the restaurant. But at least we took it to the owner's house, so we kind of borrowed it and took it to the owner's house. We didn't actually take it and go use it ourselves, so that's my claim to innocence right there. So I think I still have good character. What do you think? All right, everybody. Have a great afternoon. I can't wait to speak to you again tomorrow. God bless you.